the beginning of every month, our team at ConnectLife honors those who have given the gift of life and healing through organ, eye, tissue, and blood donation. Leaves have long been symbols of new life and renewal, and that is why we have 5 variations of leaves that represent a donor for this year and the type of gift he or she has shared. The individuals we are celebrating today donated in the month of August, and for each name read, a leaf will be hung in their honor.
These are all the donors for the month of August who have given organ. Kimberly, 55 years old, organ, eye, and tissue. Timothy, 53 years old, organ, eye, and tissue. Jessica, 46 years old, organ, eye, and tissue. David, 40 years old, organ. Now these are all the donors for the month of August who have given tissue. Frederick, 62 years old, tissue and eye. Donald, 77 years old, tissue and eye. Julie, 38 years old, tissue and eye. Karen, 35 years old, tissue and eye. Cynthia, 59 years old, tissue and eye. Agnes, 91 years old, tissue and eye. Mason, 60 years old, tissue and eye. Gary, 64 years old, tissue and eye. Lori, 60 years old, tissue and eye. James, 55 years old, tissue and eye. Mark, 59 years old, tissue and eye. Stephen, 57 years old, tissue and eye. Daniel, 70 years old, tissue and eye. Joshua, 49 years old, tissue and eye. John, 69 years old, tissue and eye. Chester, 75 years old, tissue and eye. Chester, 87 years old, tissue and eye. Albert, 54 years old, tissue and eye. Wendy, 68 years old, tissue and eye. Javier, 51 years old, tissue and eye. Albert, 89 years old, tissue and eye. John, 89 years old, tissue and eye. Douglas, 66 years old, tissue and eye. Jeanette, 91 years old, tissue and eye. James, 65 years old, tissue and eye. Jeffrey, 59 years old, tissue and eye. Lynn, 68 years old, tissue and eye. Kendra, 48 years old, tissue and eye. Michelle, 49 years old, tissue and eye. Margaret, 80 years old, tissue and eye. Patrick, 71 years old, tissue and eye. Richard, 69 years old, tissue and eye. James, 72 years old, tissue donor. Charles, 73 years old, tissue donor. Marianne, 90 years old, tissue donor. Paul, 66 years old, tissue donor. Lynn, 50 years old, tissue donor. Catherine, 75 years old, tissue donor. Frederick, 90 years old, tissue donor. Gordon, 92 years old, tissue donor. Becky, 55 years old, tissue donor. Anne, 85 years old, tissue donor. Harold, 77 years old, tissue donor. Gary, 64 years old, tissue donor. Margaret, 74 years old, tissue donor. Lena, 100 years old, tissue donor. Teresa, 84 years old, tissue donor. Herbert, 93 years old, tissue donor. And Henry, 97 years old, tissue donor. We will now represent our eye donors for the month of August. We have Connie, 57 years old. We have Gerald, 82 years old. Thomas, 80 years old. will now represent our birth tissue donors for the month of August. We have Taylor, Jill, Anna, Sarah, Tomorrow, Catherine, Nicole, Julie, Brittany, Melissa, and Casey. Okay, we will now represent our blood donors who donated in August, reaching a gallon milestone. We have Ann Webster, 10-gallon donor. Donald Neno, 8-gallon donor. Ryan McCure, 6-gallon donor. Shannon Gilmartin, 4-gallon donor. Patricia Joseph, 5-gallon donor. And Julie Maguda, 6-gallon donor. Okay, we would now like to have a moment of silence in honor of all the donors.